All right, today we're going to talk about experience of God as the transcendent, that which goes beyond. Main reading will be from Oval, pages 13 to 20. So in our last readings, we looked at how Ratzinger responded to the question of the existence of God. And in that, he talked about God as the foundation of the universe or everything. So this idea of God as that from which all things come, or the lasting reality, the realist of the real, is reflected in the philosophical term that's often used for God, the ultimate reality. Now, again, this isn't necessarily limited to the term God, because you have traditions and philosophies that will talk about the ultimate reality, not necessarily in a personal way. So it might not fit what we normally think here in our culture of God, which is a personal ultimate reality, a person who is the source of all being in the universe. But it's an important idea because Abel here is going to open up an experience of God to the transcendent. And again, it's not as specific as our typical Western concept of God. You know, the transcendent is not necessarily experienced in a personal way. But he's going to use it as a starting point to help people think, like, is there something that goes beyond what we see and what we experience typically in our average everyday lives, right? Is there an invisible reality? And we'll see lots of evidence for that. So we can see it is not it is quite a rational idea to believe in such a reality. Okay, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. Let's start just with the word transcendent. What does it mean? Well, it basically means going beyond, right? It basically means not just what is here in an obvious way, but something more. It's beyond the range, that which is beyond our obvious, our typical, or use a technical term, gross experience. So that's the way Immanuel Kant used the term the transcendent. It's something that we don't perceive in our everyday experience. It's something we can't say, look, there it is. Does everybody see that? Right? The transcendent is the idea of something that is the source of, or perhaps the end of, or beyond our everyday experience in some other way. So if we look at the roots of the word, it means pretty much climbing over, right? So if we're going to talk about transcendent, it involves the climbing over the limits of the everyday perceptible phenomenon, you know, the things we see, and opening up the possibility that the perceptible phenomena are connected in and through some imperceptible ultimate reality, right? Something we don't see. So everything here that we perceive and everything here that we can know easily and demonstrate, everything that we might say is part of our everyday experience, these things are part of something greater. So one of the ways that we see this is the question of meaning. You know, when we ask the meaning about things, we're asking, like, is there something more to this than its simple occurrence or appearance? Right? So when we ask questions, why did something happen? You know, is this the way it's supposed to be? Right? Is this who I was meant to be? Is this who I am meant to be with? All these ideas of meaning. See what they assume there? They assume that there's something more to it than its own occurrence. Right? There's a reason for it. This seems to be, in many ways, a very basic human intuition. Right? Abel calls it an essential human characteristic, and it's essential functioning of any religious tradition to provide the believers with that meaning. You know, it's a basic human inclination. something happens, especially something that affects us on a spiritual or emotional level, we say, what does it mean? Why is this happening? Right? So another way to talk about religion is systems in which people are given a way to understand the visible, a way to understand the things that are happening in their everyday life. And it's through the association of an invisible meaning, right, which ties those things together. Right? There's a point to it. There's a reason for it. It means something.